Mother's Table Talk on IXE Parents Network. We're mothers, we're around the table, we're talking positively about different issues ranging from finance, early years, motivating teenagers, how to get young people employed. And with me is Nova, who's our relationship expert, and she's also an author and a speaker. We also have Ida, who's also an author and speaker, and Ida owns 2 nurseries and is a midwife, so she's really clued up on early years. And we have Charmaine also, who's an author and a speaker, and Charmaine's expertise is finance and budgeting. And I myself, Donia, I work with young people in schools, and my focus is motivating young people and empowering parents to be able to motivate their young people. Together, we believe that an empowered parent equals successful child. So today we're actually going to be discussing the mother for a change, actually, and our focus is on personal goal setting and focusing ourselves. I know, like, when children are young, especially, we spend to focus on them a lot and focus on the family and neglect ourselves. And Ida, who's my first question is going to be to you. You work with the early years. You're a midwife. You work with mothers who have children or going to have children. You yourself have, your 3 boys now have gone to university, employed. How did you balance this whole kind of motherhood, business, 2 nurseries, yourself personally taking care of yourself? How did you set goals and how did you balance that?
I won't take any credit with regards to balance, first of all, because it was certainly not easy to balance or to manage. But I had to remind myself at all times that I am the only person who can plan for the boys as well as for myself and for my job, and rule out that my husband wasn't there at all, in the sense that his hours were very, very long hours. So I didn't want to rely on him. I had to rely on what I could organize myself, also with the help of a few au pairs in between, and that's the only way it kind of worked out. But for me, it was simple. When it came to the decision of my own career, I had to resign to the point that I'm not going to have a full-time career in midwifery anymore once the children arrived. My children were a priority. So I was in a good position. I was the health promotion manager at Guy's Hospital, and earned good money. But once the family was there and the hospital was going to move to another location, St. Thomas's, I had to realize that I couldn't do the long hours and the long journey, and also be a mom at home. So I had to accept the redundancy that I was offered and make sure that I could then try and look for something else to do while still prioritizing my children's education and quality time. So the planning really started from there. Where do I go from here? I still wanted to do my school rounds and be available when they were doing their homework, when they had to do their after-school classes, things like piano and violin and so forth. And it was trying to juggle the hours and also the childcare in between. And it got to the point where I realized if I was able to open a playgroup, just something that I could share with other parents, because I had taught my 3 boys to read from the age of 2, I could use that skill. And then also still keep up with midwifery, but it would have been for weekends only when my husband was available. So yes, there was planning involved in that sense that if he was available for weekends, I was able to go into midwifery. If he was not, then I had to just rely on my Monday to Friday playgroup. But I still was there as a mom, and that was the most important thing.
Fabulous. And in terms of what you know of mothers, let's say, the especially mothers with young children, they're taking care of their children, doing the school rounds, they may have business, and they also have to take care of the family. What kind of tips would you give them in terms of goal setting, how to set personal goals so that they are also taking care of themselves, not just the family? Because you can get lost in your family and your children.
It is very easy to get lost, definitely. And also it's very hard when you haven't got any relatives nearby or grandparents to help you. In certain areas, you don't have even neighbors that you probably speak with frequently to knock on the door and say, "Oh, can my child come and stay with you until I come back from work?" There's no such thing. So parents have to make an effort and meet other moms, and I think that's where the support is needed mostly, for them to be either introduced or, in our nursery we call something called a buddy system. When a new child starts, and you recommend another, probably more confident child to be with that new child. I think it should be the same thing with parents. Now that I have a newborn baby, where do I go from here? Because you feel very, very isolated. Even if you are a really very high career person, once a baby arrives, you just go down to feeling you're nothing deep down. And I think that's where the health visitor is so important. The local community, where probably they hold play group sessions to meet other moms in similar predicament, can come in quite handy. Even the local job center, because you might need to maybe even change your career and go into something else like I did, just to make ends meet until such time when you're able to maybe go back to your previous career full-time, or combine both, which is what I'm doing. So there are ways of going around it, but not to give up and say, well, that's it, I can't do anything anymore.
Okay, that's interesting actually, because thank you for that. I mean, how did you do it, Nova? How did you ensure that you set goals for yourselves so that you didn't lose yourself in the family, so to speak?
I was going to say, one of the things that I do with wives, because I've done it for myself, is make sure that you start to write down your hopes, your dreams, and stuff, because when you write those things down, then it's on paper and you could see, okay, I'm doing this one for Sam, this one for Jenny in terms of the children, then I'm doing this one for my husband, Mark. What am I doing for me? If you have it written down, and especially if there's some sort of template there that you could use, we have one that we use. It's more loose, but you have yourself inside it. So what am I doing for me? And you would have things on it in terms of finances, of course. For you, you would have personal time. Because a lot of times we don't put me time for your relationship, because the things that you want to grow, that's where you will set the goals. And spiritual time as well. A lot of times we forget that, or we think it's our duty to encourage everybody else to grow. And when you finish, you'll end up in hospital and so you need write it down. Don't keep everything in your head. You can't go anywhere.
I have to say, for me, I lost myself in my children. I didn't set goals for me. I forgot about myself. And everything was, okay, what do they need to do? So for me, being a single mom, it was everything to make sure that they were okay. So I did lose myself in the midst of the raising them and making sure that they were happy. Because once they were happy, I was happy. And I think in terms of the me time, when they would go and spend time with their dad, that was like, yay! Oh, what do I do?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, right, okay. My kitchen was very clean, the cupboards, taking everything out of the drawers, everything. So the house was always spotless, and it's like, right. Okay.
You're missing the children.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, right, they're not back till tomorrow. Right, okay.
So what would you do to...
Or would you don't get past? Okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
How do you get past that? How do you help?
Getting past the okay, I then reconnected with friends. So I started to go out and reconnect with people. The ones who are still single, because I think obviously the ones who are married, they're protected of their husbands. Fine, fair enough. I don't need your man. But it was just to visit them and say hi. He's yours, darling. He's yours. That's fine. Get on with it. So I spent time reconnecting with family and friends. I would go on like little day trips and visit people. And day trips to France is very good. I would recommend it if it's within your budget. Yeah. And so I got acquainted with the Eurostar and just getting up and just being spontaneous rather than the four walls closing in on me.
Okay.
So,
what age would you say the Eurostar thing started to happen?
I can't remember.
You can't remember.
I can't remember. But
I
my boys were in single digits. You know,
I remember taking out my children and my friends' children via the ferry.
Cross ferry,
Yeah,
that was nice. But then when
Yeah.
Eurostar came, it was like, who needs the ferry?
Yeah,
Too
we
far.
use the ferry
Too
still.
far. Yeah, no much money. But I did I've done the ferry with you can still get on the train and then, or the coach or
Yeah,
something.
that's right.
Yeah,
Well, I was going
yeah.
to say, sorry, that what Charmaine was saying made the point, well, I suppose to help strengthen the point that I was making. If you had a list before of a wish list, things you would like to do and stuff, when you have that space, oh, let me check to see which one of these things that I haven't done yet, and then you do one of those. So yeah, I'm going to call Jenny today and see if she has time for us to go to the movies. Or
Okay,
maybe
yeah.
on
So
the
let's.
massage.
Mine was more spontaneous,
Okay.
I think, because I think it was a case of thinking about me, I felt guilty.
Okay.
So it was that case of, right, once they've gone, then, right, now it's me. And then once the house is tidy, right, it's me. And you kind of still like, yeah, I can get up at 12 if I want to get up at
She's
12.
back there.
You know, I love it. I'm back there again. I've done full circle, but this time I'm enjoying it.
Can I add on that with
Yeah.
regards to childcare, being in childcare still at the moment, we are seeing parents who probably came from a very high position. Once they have a baby and then the child comes to our preschool, they're actually reluctant to leave the child in the nursery.
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to stay? Are you sure you don't want to come home with mommy? Is that whether it's guilt or insecurity?
There's no
we're not
goals.
sure.
No plans.
Yeah.
But
So yes,
I wasn't that far. I was a case of, yes, go to playgroup. Go. Go on, mix.
Yeah.
But let's
But just to go around the supermarkets very quickly, but it literally was a case of, right, playgroup, 2 hours, so you go to the supermarket, do what you need to do, and then come back again. So again, it was still focusing on them, but I was glad for them to mix with other kids.
So we're seeing then, in terms of, from the discussion we're having, in terms of personal goals and mothers focusing on them, it can be difficult when they have young children. It can be
When you don't write
difficult
things
or
down.
have
We don't
children,
write
or
them
even if it's a case of don't write things down. I mean, one of the key things from what you're saying then, in order to avoid that guilt and just focusing on yourself, is to write things down at least. Right, still have your wish list, still have your bucket wish list, so to speak. Then yes, but let's think about let's just everyone. If you just say one thing that you would encourage mother to do in terms of personal goal setting. When I say what I mean is one thing that you found enjoyable that you'd say, oh, let's go to the spa. Or do this once a month. Do this. Just one thing that you'd say at least once a month. Try this, or once a year. Try this. What would you say? No.
I enjoy a good massage.
Okay.
So, yeah, as often as you can do that. Daily? Okay, sorry.
I'm saying being with a very good friend.
Okay.
Yeah, without the children or without the newborn baby. Yeah, it's like what you feel like you're alive again. You're still within the circle.
Okay. And you give me that one point, but just quickly, how would you accomplish that with a new child, with a new baby, or having young children, getting away with a friend? What would you suggest that they do?
Oh, there's a lot of good services for babysitters. You can go online, you can register with an agency, just a one-off babysitter, or you could do even an au pair share, a nanny share. There's so much one can do. Registered childminders as well available, but you need the time out to be away. At least I felt that I was a good mom when I worked part-time as a midwife and also was with the children part-time. I came back with renewed energy.
Fabulous. And how about yourself, Charmaine?
For me, I would say
we're gonna round up.
just get over yourself. Just because somebody's had your child for a few hours doesn't mean they're going to forget you. And you're not perfect. You are going to make mistakes. But your child is your child. And somebody else, looking after them for a number of hours. Yes, the child will come back with something great and new and wonderful to say. Even if you taught them blah, blah, black sheep, they come back, I learned blah, blah, black sheep. Get over yourself. They still love you.
Yeah.
Kids
Okay.
are unconditional.
Yeah.
So what? Sorry,
can I
just the last
so-
point. 'cause
Yeah,
we have to
I was
round
going to
up,
say,
yeah.
even for people who have special needs children or something, there are services there where you could put those children just for a day or something. Yeah, so you can get that support.
Okay.
Because you do need the time out just to think.
Yeah.
Okay, fabulous. So thank you very much for that. So in terms of, from what Ido said and from what everyone said, it can be difficult when you have children to think about yourself But as mothers, growing up children, from having young children to children who are in university who have got jobs now, we realise that it's important to take some time out for yourself. And one of the key kind of take-up points that I've gotten from this is to write things down. Maybe have a list of 3 or 10 things that you want to achieve that year and do it. And it's try and do stuff once a month. I mean, interestingly as well, it's this idea of sharing the childcare with other people or even getting a babysitter just to have some time out, because we're all saying burnout, you know, is an issue. But thank you very much for at least saying don't lose yourself.
Yes.
You know, you're still a person, don't lose yourself. So thank you very much for that, guys. It's been superb. Thank you.
It's a wrap.